Welcome back to the show, Indestructible Souls. I am Jonathan Beauregard, your host of Indestructible Souls, the podcast for mental wellness for African American men and boys, or for the black male. It's been a while, and in fact, I've been here for the last little while trying to get things back in order. It's been a while since I've recorded or been on, and frankly, life has gotten busy. Things have been happening. We started a new year, ended off last year strong, and a lot of things are happening. But I am your host, Jonathan Beauregard of Indestructible Souls, and a lot's been happening. And frankly, I think I missed a lot of news cycles, even though I'm not a news reporter. I missed a lot of news cycles of a lot of things to talk about. The Kyrie Irving situation, had a lot to say about that. The Kanye West situation, missed all of those different news cycles and opportunities to talk about or talk to our people about the things that I see going on. And what I mean by the things that I see going on is I personally think that we are so consumed by TV, social media, material things, and frankly, we are so consumed by things that don't matter that we're unable to see what's happening right in front of us. And frankly, I think that since Trump's been out of office, we've fallen back to sleep. And what do I mean by that? Well, I think as a people, particularly black men, I think sometimes that we forget that we are the most, well, I've already said it. We're the biggest threat in this country, yet we're underserved, marginalized, and so forth, but we've allowed the narrative to be pushed to the back. We've allowed other groups to push our narrative to the back. And yet again, here we are fighting for not only our rights, our civil rights, our human rights, and so forth. So for myself, when it comes to all of the things that happens in the media, in no way, shape, form, or fashion am I a fan of Kanye West, or a lot of the things that people I see in the media. What I try to pay attention to is, what does this mean to us as a people? What is the things that goes on in society mean to us as black men? And how is it going to affect the masses, particularly the black men and the black family? And I believe that we have the ability and the capability to continue to improve as a black community and continue to improve the black family. However, I think, yet again, we are consumed by things that don't matter, and we are distracted by the wrong things, while there's an agenda that continually keeps being pushed to destroy us. Now, I don't care what you say or what you believe, the black community will not survive nor thrive without the black male. Frankly, I think that there's a lot of immaturity in when it comes to black men. I think that we are misled and we pay attention to the wrong things. We lost our core values. What do I mean by core values? God, family, community, that sort of thing. And we become so individualistic that it is hard for us to survive and or thrive as a community. So this ain't what I got on here to talk about, but the reason why I bring this up is because yet again, here we are faced with another senseless case of police brutality in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm sure everyone has seen the videos. I'm sure everyone has saw the 5 black police officers that were fired and ultimately arrested for murder of Trye Nicols. Yet again, here we have another black man name that's going to become a hashtag for the moment. But yet, do I believe that this is going to bring change? The reality is no. And the reason why I say no is because nothing's going to change in society in this country because too many of us, the black community, the so-called black community, continues to only rise up, organize when we collectively feel like something's wrong. But even then, so we can always find a handful in the bunch that's going to have enough to say to back brutality, to back dehumanizing black men, and so forth. So ultimately, when it comes to the things that happen to people like Trye, I blame us. Now, what do I mean by that? Because we are not intentional in our causes. We are not intentional in developing community and agendas that's going to push the black community forward. But not only that, against the general public, but I also believe that we do not hold ourselves accountable. And so, as the old saying says, what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. So if we're going to dehumanize our own, we can't cry wolf when other people dehumanize us. Now, you might say, well, it was 5 black police officers. And I have a lot of things I can say about, in my opinion, that doesn't matter. Because when we talk about, in general, law enforcement and law enforcement training, in my opinion, once that uniform goes on, it doesn't matter. Before I even get into the whole story about Trye Nicols and just the travesty and the cowards that they are, and because they had that uniform on, in my opinion, lost all sense of humanity. And do I believe? Here's what I believe. I believe they lost all sense of humanity because the kid was black. I do not believe for 1 second that if that man was white, those 5 police officers would have did that. So you might say, well, On one hand, you say only white cops do it or non-black cops do it. But then on the other hand, how can you say 5 black cops beat that kid to death because he was black? Here's why I say that, and here's why I believe it, and I know I'm right. Is because, like I was saying earlier, the reason why we as a people cannot advance is because collectively we cannot come together as a community, because there's always some so-called progressive Negro in the bunch that's going to fight the agenda. But I digress. Because the psyche in this country, even when it comes to black people, because of white supremacy, because of how the images of black men have been portrayed, the reality is black people have bought into it too. The reality is I can go places that are predominantly non-black and feel safer in certain areas where there's majority black, because we have bought into a narrative and we see ourselves as enemies. So my belief is that once that uniform goes on and once the training kicks in, and the belief that, or the psyche that takes over, that even black people at times don't see, they dehumanize us as well and sees us as threats. That's because we have bought in collectively, we have bought into the narrative that's been fed to us that black men are a threat. Now, some might say, well, the kid got up and ran. Some might say he didn't follow the commands. There's a number of videos out there when it comes to to Trye. So I recently watched a video, and this was after they handcuffed him. The medics got there, and the officers was sitting around, well, standing around, talking about this kid. Not once did they ever say that they were scared of this dude. Instead, they stood around bragging, high-fiving each other, and bragging about how bad they beat this kid. Saying, oh, I hit him this way. I hit him this hard. He didn't fall. Well, I did this to him. Oh, he must be high. They took glory in brutalizing another human being because they wanted to believe he was on drugs. Now, here's the thing. Even if he were on drugs, he was not a threat to any of them. These dudes, these so-called cops, these cowards, these punks, these sissies, brutalized this kid for kicks. They were proud. Even after they beat him senseless, they had him up against the car, handcuffed, he slumped over, they're telling him to sit up so the medics can check him out. They're telling him to sit over after he slumped over. I cannot tell you, and here's the thing, we can go back historically, but I cannot tell you the shame that's been brought on the community, the black community, law enforcement, that these 5 men have brought. This is worse than anything else we've seen when we talk about, you could say our own kind, but I don't see them as our own kind. So they didn't turn on us. They turned a long time ago. What happened to that kid is, if this is not a wake-up call for police reform, for organization, for education, for community, then we'll never get there. Me personally, I am sick and tired of it. And we can't make any more excuses for police brutality. There's so many aspects to this that I believe people in general, black, white, other, in general, are blind to simply because of their so-called beliefs. But nobody wants to look at humanity. And the reality of it is that because I still believe that in this society, people see black people as less human. Even our own. You have all these talking heads on these different platforms talking about why they believe this happened. One of the worst examples I heard, and I can't even remember the guy's name, but he's one of the regular coons that they get, one of the regular black people that they get to go against us. And he blamed it on black single mothers and said he bet basically all 5 of those cops came from a single mother, and also because they had a female chief in charge, that this is why that happened. This isn't why that happened. In my opinion, we can go on for days and days of why something like this would happen. But I believe it's indoctrination. It's indoctrinated in law enforcement. It's indoctrinated in the training. It's indoctrinated in how we see each other. It's indoctrinated in us against them. When people put on that uniform, they forget that they're a part of the community and believe they're above the community. But the very psyche that allows slavery, the very psyche that allows discrimination, the very psyche that allows white supremacy, and all of those things is at the core of this. When we even see our own as a threat, it's indoctrinated in us. Looking at those videos and this whole story is just painful. Nobody deserves to die that way. Literally beaten to death by law enforcement. And this wasn't law enforcement training. This wasn't some training tactic gone bad. They were beating him as if, I saw one part of the video where they were literally holding him up and the police officer just hauls off and hit him as hard as he can, running through the punch. Show me that in law enforcement training. And you mean to tell me 5 dudes can't subdue subdue one dude, one person. Make that make sense. Here's what I wonder. For one, when is it going to stop? But for two, I believe it's not going to stop because we get more riled up by pronouns, by the color of this, the this or that, the what's on the the TikTok, what's on this. We get more riled up about bullshit and we get so distracted with bullshit and things that don't matter. We get so caught up in, this is what I believe. I believe we as a people, we've lost our sense of community. We lost our sense of the collective. We lost our sense of a Black community because we get so caught up in competition that we only feel accomplished if we have it to, we only feel accomplished when we have it to compare to somebody that's not doing as good. So therefore, we only feel like we're winning when someone else is losing, not realizing we could all win. We don't care about the collective. Show me a Black community. We're so quick to turn on our own. We're so slow to hold our own accountable. That we have literally forgotten our sense of community and our sense of people. Then we wonder why we continue to lose. We celebrate drug dealers, we celebrate gangbangers, we celebrate bullies. We celebrate hypocrites, the hypocritical preacher. You got churches full of preachers who are scheming and scamming and raping the people, but yet their churches are full. If this isn't a wake-up call, then I don't know what is. Because we've had many of them. There's always going to be a coon in the bunch. However, we are so quick to change our mind. We are so quick to dump or abandon a cause that we have groups of people that's been here less time than us and are out thriving us. And I get it. I know the system is rigged. I talk about it all the time. I'm in the business of helping people. I'm in the business of helping people help themselves. And if we could never take a look at ourselves and say why we keep ending up in this position. If we could never take a look at ourselves, then why would we expect anybody else to ride with us? I become so desensitized to this type of brutality, but also I have literally 100% have lost all faith in law enforcement. They're a necessary evil. I just pray to God that he continues to bless my family and my house and my person and everything connected to me, that I don't need them. The reality is I look at them the same way I would look at any other terrorist group, gang, extremist group. They serve no purpose for me. My hope is that we pull it together. But we got to pull it together for ourselves. My heart goes out to Trye Nicols and his family, the community, my heart goes out to every traumatized Black male, boy, man, teenager that's been traumatized by this society. My name is Jonathan Beauregard. I am the host of Indestructible Souls, and you enjoy the rest of your night.